After 20 years of flat pack furniture and some pretty major DIY disasters, earlier this year I started making my own furniture and taking home renovation a heck of a lot more seriously. And my only regret? Not starting sooner. So this week I've got 5 tips for any beginner DIY maker to hopefully get you started quicker than I did. Hey, Pete here from Northern Works. I'm waiting on a delivery of some wood, so there's no project this week, but I've got a few odd jobs to do around the house. So while I get started, let me share my first tip, which is that you don't need tools or materials to get started. I've been building in my head for absolutely years, coming up with ideas for furniture, planning whole gardens, even whole home renovations, like before I even had a house. All that time I was, sketching things and trying to describe them to people, even though most of them weren't actually interested in listening. I was trying to understand different styles and learn about materials and all of these different things, and all of that is useful for makers. Even if you haven't got any tools, any materials, even if you haven't got any space, you can still be thinking and planning and learning how to design. Something that really helped me, and I know a lot of other makers say this as well, is learning SketchUp or really any CAD program. It gives you a way of learning a lot of the other things about designing and making, like proportion, scale, how things actually go together. And it's much better than just using pencil and paper. You can learn a lot of great skills that even before you've picked up a power tool. My next tip is, it's okay to be greedy. In fact, it's better to be greedy with your ideas and influences. Ideas can come from absolutely anywhere, but I often find people sort of get trapped into a little corner. Like Scandinavian design is really cool, but there's way more to Scandinavia than just white walls and walnut dining chairs. So let yourself go a bit crazy when it comes to the design buffet. Follow as many design Instagram accounts as you can. Read architecture journals, follow fashion blogs and interior design magazines. And the more variety you let yourself consume, then the more places that you'll find ideas can come from. But you have to be conscious of what it is that you're consuming. Just mindlessly scrolling on Instagram isn't going to turn you into a designer. When you're looking at something and you see something that you like, think about, what is it that I actually like about this? Is it the material? Is it the joinery? Is it the colours or the shapes? And as well, when you see something you don't like, what don't you like about it? What would you change if you were going to build the same piece of furniture? Great ideas can come from really anywhere. And often the best ones are the ones that challenge our own preconceptions. And it's fine to use other people's ideas, just don't pretend they're yours. And then, when you are ready to build something that gets you excited to build. There's a lot of how to get started content out there that's honestly just not that exciting. And I think if you're not excited about what you're building, then you're more likely to half-arse it, you're not going to follow through on the process, and you're probably not going to learn as much or develop the skills as quickly. So if you're not excited at the thought of making another cutting board, but you are super pumped at the idea of making a bed, then do it. One of my first projects when I came back to building DIY was to build a bed for the kids, and I think it was a bit harder than making a set of coasters, but I learned so much from the process, especially all the stuff that I got wrong and had to figure out how to fix. And that's why my next tip is so important. I'll get an electrician to finish this up, I think. My wood arrived. That's not the tip. The tip is, you've got to be okay with imperfection. I know everyone's journey is different, but for me, and I think for most people, none of my builds have gone perfectly, especially not first time. And I've said it before, that was one of the main reasons that I put off, you know, bigger DIY projects or building my own furniture for so long, is that fear of things going wrong. But the reality is everyone makes mistakes, and you know, builds run into unforeseen problems. Maybe walls aren't as straight as you expected, or things don't arrive on time, or materials just like split in weird ways that you didn't expect. But it's just part of it. But honestly, I think that's a good thing. Whenever there's a problem, you work out how to solve that problem. And then, the next time you have that problem, you know how to solve it, or you don't go down that route and the problem never comes up. It's how you learn. I think the key thing is how you engage with those mistakes, you know. Are you gonna let it get you down every time something goes wrong, or stop you from trying new things? Or are you gonna engage with that mistake and learn from it, and I guess like see it as a positive thing? It's one of the things I really like about YouTube, you know. I think most people are pretty transparent about showing their mistakes and showing how they overcame them and showing how they might avoid them in the future. And actually, that brings me to my last tip. Oh, it's definitely autumn here in Manchester, there's so much rain. Anyway, my final tip is find help. It doesn't matter if it's your neighbour, your auntie, a professional teacher. Asking for help is probably the quickest way that you're going to find out if this is something that you actually enjoy doing, and you know, what is it you actually need to kind of get involved in it. I took a course with Domestika. I'll leave a link in the description below, and it was absolutely brilliant because it told me everything that I needed to know as a beginner. So, you know, what sort of wood is actually good for beginners to use? What tools should I start with? And how do I actually use them to make quality furniture? 10 out of 10 would recommend. And if nothing else, there's always YouTube, right? I've learned so much in a pretty short space of time just from immersing myself in other people's projects. You know, what is it they do? What are the techniques that they're using? And picking up on some of their tips. And I put a bunch of the tips and techniques that I've learned over the last few months into some of my project videos. So go and check those out if you want to see more. And if you're interested in what this wood's for, then why not subscribe, and maybe you'll find out soon.